everybody. Welcome to the Red Alert Report. I am excited to have our president, Shelley Neese, with us today. You have been listening to her voice for over a year in her podcast called Bible Fiber, but today we get to see her beautiful face, and we love to have her on. And we have with us a special guest, Sarah Weiskopf, who is our 2023 Hebrew University Scholarship winner. And we wanted to introduce her to you all so that you get to know her and understand how valuable your contribution has been to our mission to send an American university student to Israel for a full immersion experience into the society, into the intellectual community, and to live amongst all Israelis as well as other international students. Welcome, Sarah, to our Red Alert program, and thank you for taking the time out to visit with us. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about what your university experience has been so far and why you love Israel and how you came to apply to our scholarship?
Perfect. Thank you so much. I am a senior at Grand Canyon University, which is in Phoenix, Arizona, and I am studying business entrepreneurship, which has been super fun. I actually have my own nonprofit, so that's what I hope to go into afterwards, is just missions, nonprofit ministry, anything like that. And it just has been really sweet just to get to learn from other professors who have started their own businesses. And Phoenix is just like a huge hub for a lot of new businesses that are starting up, as well as just huge corporations as well. So it's been really good. I went to Israel for the first time in May of 2022, so very recently. And it just honestly changed my life in a way I didn't expect. I didn't think I would be coming back for 5 to 6 months, but here we are. I was thinking about it this morning too, but I had not even been out of the country a year ago. So I was just kind of completely crazy that the Lord has used this experience of going out, and now I'm moving overseas.
Wow, that's exciting. What are your expectations for your time in Israel this time? It won't be your first visit, but this may be your first experience in the university setting, in the culture where you're not a visitor or a tourist, but you are in and amongst the society.
I am very excited, like what you were saying, to not just go for 10 days like I did before. Like I actually will get to take Hebrew classes and learn more about Israeli studies and just a lot of classes that I cannot necessarily take in the US. And even if I can, I'm not fully immersed in it. So that's going to be really sweet. Also, I love that Israel's the startup nation of the world too, because it just ties in perfectly with what I'm majoring in and exactly what I want to do. And I also just think Judaism and just the Jewish people, once you understand that, it really ties into my Christian faith too. And just knowing that Jesus was Jewish, and if we miss that, then we miss a whole lot of what the Bible says. So I'm really excited just to learn more about what other people believe too.
Yeah,
That's
Amy
excellent.
and I both studied in Israel when we were closer to your age, and I did not do probably proper research, and I hadn't already been to Israel like you had when I went there to study. And so it was like a shock to my system to suddenly realize I was the religious minority for the first time in my life. I mean, most of your classmates, if they are studying abroad, and there'll be Jewish Americans or Jewish Europeans, like that is the main demographic that chooses to study abroad in Israel. So it's I think a real point of growth. I mean, not only to just be in Israel and what that means for your own faith, but also for the first time to be a religious minority and in a position that you're learning from others and from your Jewish peers. And yeah, it's just we always learn more and do more when we're in a proverbial exile. So
Do you how do you expect this experience to bless you? And you kind of mentioned that a little bit. And then on the flip side, after it's done and you're back in America, and I'm sure with your goals and aspirations, you'll be back in Israel one more or many times in your life. You might even live there again for a little bit. How do you expect, or, and this is an open question because God's plans, we don't know them yet, but how do you expect you'll bless Israel based on this time that you have at the Hebrew University?
Yes, it's a great question. I think Israel will definitely bless me just by, like what you guys were saying, I get to live in a place where there's less than 2% of Christians. So I think just being able to have my mind opened to what the Jewish people believe and the Muslim people believe. And so that just will be really cool to be able to understand where other people are coming from and just getting to sit and listen to their stories. And then on the flip side, I think it will be a blessing just to know that I can love people with the love of Jesus, and it doesn't have to be anything that's like super pushy or anything like that. But just being able to truly see where Jesus walked and getting to walk through that again, more than just like 15 minutes at each place when we did our tour. I'll actually get to sit there for a while, which would be good. And just being able to tell other people about the God that I know will be really sweet.
Oh, that's beautiful, Sarah.
It is.
Shelley, what were you
Have
about
you,
to say?
I'm just curious, so did you travel the whole country when you were there before, or what was your experience like?
We stayed in Jerusalem for 4 or 5 days, and then we went up to Nazareth. We went near like the Gaza border. There was a town down there. I forget what it's called.
Sderot, maybe.
Yeah, I think that was it. And we also went to the Sea of Galilee. We went to Bethlehem. So yeah, we went around a lot of the major places.
Is your family nervous about you going? Is there any like safety concerns or anything?
A little bit. I think at first I wasn't really sure how I was going to tell them that I wanted to go back for not just 10 days. But the Lord has definitely just provided in that way too. Like they have been very supportive, and my dad definitely watches the news a lot more than I do. So I think that's probably a little bit more of a concern, but I think they're excited and very happy too. So I'm excited.
Yeah, be nice to them. Like when I got on an airplane at 19 years old to move to Israel for 3 years, and I thought my mom was overreacting because she was crying in the airport. Like I was not as kind as I should have been in understanding. Like now that I'm a mom, I want to go back and take that moment back to be like, I understand this is hard.
Yeah.
But you're the one going to have this amazing, cool experience. And it seems like a safe time to go to Israel anyways,
Mm-hmm.
they just have a new government that they're working out. So you'll be part of that breaking
Front row
news.
seat.
Oh yeah, that is true. Wait, why did you go there for 3 years?
Oh, I went to study as well. So for undergraduate, and then ended up staying in graduate school. My husband went to medical school there in Beersheba.
Oh,
Amy,
that's
you were in Jerusalem though, Amy, right?
I did 2 separate study tours where we were kind of everywhere, but all of my meetings with high-level officials, most of them were in Jerusalem, and then we met a bunch of NGOs in different places. I think the first time I went, it was when the Darfur refugees were flooding in, and Israel was taking them in from the Egyptian border. And they had already been through massive trauma between leaving, south of Egypt, traveling through Egypt, getting exposed to a ton of abuse in Egypt before they managed to get themselves to the border, not knowing what abuse they had to get from the next border. And so I met with a lot of those folks who were just thrilled that Israel's soldiers at the border picked their children up and gave them cookies and water and brought them into facilities where they could rest. And And I mean, firsthand stories of women. I mean, it was mostly women and children just not knowing what to expect, thinking they'd be put in another prison or another abusive situation, a lot of domestic help in Egypt. They were hired in as domestic help and they were abused. And the stories were just riveting. And that was the first tour. And that's where we were everywhere, because those NGOs that were housing and bringing them in, trying to find the husbands, retraining folks so that they can either work in the hospitality industry or go on into Europe, where other countries were taking in refugees. Then the second time, that's where I spent a lot of time in Jerusalem meeting with Knesset members, cabinet members, because I was working on a thesis. And but it was, I didn't spend the amount of time that Shelley, you did, and you are going to have, Sarah. And I just know that time, you just fall in love with not just the people, and that's all the people, right? The Jews and the Druze and everybody else, Christian Arabs, Muslim Arabs. You also your blood can boil when you get back and you see the bias in the news, the bias with celebrities, the bias with political figures. And just that experience, every person that has that firsthand experience, at least there's one voice of truth, right? To say amongst your friends, your family, even if you don't have a TV show from which to espouse it, that's not true, that's not accurate. And that's one of our goals of the Jerusalem Connection, is to constantly shine a light of truth and combat the bias narrative and the anti-Semitism that comes out. And it is a long-term goal through having young people go and study, young people who love the Lord and love Israel, then to take that and examine it firsthand. And that doesn't mean you say, oh, Israel's perfect and everybody in Israel's perfect. No, none of us are perfect and none of our governments are perfect, but that we can have a realistic look at Israel, especially within the framework of God's purpose for Israel, and then the goal as Christians to love and support these people, that we're not just there to convert everybody like the Spanish Inquisition. No, it's just to love them with the love of the Lord.
Right.
Sarah, is there anything in particular you would like our supporters to know before you head out? And if you don't mind, maybe after a couple of months in Israel before you come home, or even after you come home, we can maybe touch base with you again and get your feedback. But before you go, is there anything you'd like us to know about how you're feeling or your goals or anything like that, so we can continue to pray for you and cheer you on as you endeavor on this?
I think I just want everyone to know that definitely I just could not be where I am right now without the Lord. And even the little things, like there just have been so many answered prayers that were very specific that happened. And getting to write the chapter of the book was super awesome. I got to fly out to North Carolina too for a combating anti-Semitism conference.
Oh, wonderful.
Where they flew me out for free. So even that was a blessing I wasn't expecting. So it's just been definitely the Lord in every single step. And I just want to thank everyone, because I wouldn't be able to go, or it'd definitely be a lot more overwhelming, at least with finances and everything, if I didn't have everyone's support. So just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Shelley, do you have any parting words of wisdom for Sarah?
No, just we got her application. I mean, your references, everyone just, you were a stellar candidate. And Amy actually has a business background and is in business. So she was thrilled to have an undergrad business major interested in this. Yeah. So you're an answer to our prayer too.
Exactly. Well, Sarah, we will continue to pray for you and communicate with you, even if it's just by email, to get updates. And we hope to have you come back on again in the coming months to let us know how you're progressing. And I want to thank all of our Jerusalem Connection donors for their support in the Hebrew Scholarship Program and their continued support, so that we can champion more students in the future to study at Hebrew University. Shavua Tov, and have a great week.
Thank you. You too.